Hello folks, welcome to some Hobby Nightmares. It is a shorter one today because I am quite busy. We are in the season in the run-up to entrance exams and things like that for universities, so a lot of those are crossing my desk and I'm having to mark them at quick speed to try and find prospective students' marks so that they can get into their chosen universities. But there we are, it is a busy time in education, but that doesn't mean that I neglect doing some Hobby Nightmares when I have a little bit of downtime. And that's what we're about to do right now with Jack, who says, "Hi North, the story I have isn't a Hobby Nightmare really, but more of a happy story related to my very first tournament and how I got absolutely smoked during it." Well, okay, you go to a tournament. Feel free to not use it if you don't want to, but please forgive any spelling mistakes in this email as it's a bit hard to type currently based on what happens later in this hobby story. Okay. I thought you said this was a fun one. The story begins with one of my friends when he invited me to a tournament that was taking place at a local hobby store. At this point, I've only ever played 3 games of Warhammer and was much more into the painting side of the hobby. Some pictures are attached if you are interested. Mate, you've sent me pictures in the wrong format, so I can't put them on the screen. It's just a green blob when they're on the screen because they're in HTIC format, whatever it is. And yeah, so send me them in a JPEG file or something like that and I can put it up, but right now I can't. It's a pity too, they look pretty cool. Nice Tyranids. However, I decided to join this tournament because when else am I going to get to play at a Warhammer tournament with one of my friends? I got right to work with painting more of my new Tyranid models. I managed to get almost my whole army done before the tournament, save 2 Termagaunt squads that were left at a white base coat and a Psychophage which wasn't up to the painting standard that I wanted it to be. However, it was still battle ready. The day of the tournament arrives and I sleep in. However, luckily for me, when I got to the tournament, it turns out that I wasn't the only one that had slept in and we were waiting for a few more guys to show up. I started to socialise with some of the players that were there and soon realised that I had way too little points to actually be playing. Dude, right, I'm not going to be too harsh here, right? But the amount of people who write into Hobby Nightmares and tell me, "Oh, yeah, I had such a bad time at a tournament," you know? And then they say, "Well, I turned up with like 500 points in a 2,000 point tournament, but, you know, they should have accommodated to me. They should have accommodated me." No. And I don't know this is what you're going to do, Jack, so please don't, you know, this isn't really at you. It's at most people who send these things in to me when they say stuff like this. Dude, take some accountability. You're going to a tournament, right? You're bringing this, you know those guys who come into casual games of 40k and play for blood, and try and ruin everybody's day? You're that when you do this at a tournament. You're their version. You're a casual player coming in expecting the entire hobby to acquiesce to the way you want to play the game, and it's not true, right? If it's a 2,000 point or 1,000 point tournament, turn up with the right amount of points at least. Anyway, I had read the wrong tournament information from their last tournament and brought just under 1,500 points when it was actually a 2,000 point tournament. Oh well, it was too late to go back now. Soon the tournament began and my first matchup was against a Black Templar player who we shall call Opponent 1. Opponent 1 was a casual player who mostly played Crusades and we got along very well. I did very well for how many points I brought, however he still smoked me with a Helbrecht and 3 20-man bricks of what I believe were Crusader squads. After the crushing defeat brought upon me by the Black Templars, we all had pizza and got ready for round 2. My next matchup was against a very fun Death Guard player whom I shall call Opponent 2. Opponent 2 immediately wiped out my 2 squads of Termagaunts with as many Plague Burst Crawlers and Bloat Drones. However, despite this, I managed to fight back and kill Mortarion before the rest of my army got completely wiped off the board. Needless to say, it was an amazing game, and we had so much fun. The final game was against a very competitive Necron list. I started the game by going straight for objectives, which I quickly found was the wrong move because Catan shards can teleport and deal way too much damage. I didn't get board wiped this time, but I did lose 33 points to 87. Wow, that is a beating. No, that was a beating. Not all was bad though, as I did end up getting the wooden spoon prize of 1 free paint pot and came runner-up for the most sporting player. This is where the story becomes a little bit of a nightmare, however, as now we get into the reason that I asked you to excuse my typing up at the top of the email. Whilst I was leaving, I took all my models away and made my way back to help my friend with his models. However, on the way up the stairs, I tripped and ended up breaking my wrist. Oh my god. You poor guy, man. Imagine getting the... Imagine getting the wooden spoon in a tournament and then breaking your wrist. Oh no. Oh no. I went to the hospital and it will heal. However, I am currently in a cast and will be for quite a while. Oh no, man. I forgive you for sending the pictures in the wrong format. Oh my god. That's horrible. That's really... I can't even paint now. Thank you for taking the time to read my story, North. I hope you found it fun to read, and hopefully it was a little bit more of a refresher than from other hobby nightmares. Until next time, Jack. Cheers, man. Dude, that's horrible. I'm really sorry that you had to go... you had to get through that. That's ridiculous. One thing I will say, I wanted to get your opinions on this before we move into our next hobby nightmare. An interlude, if you will. It is about the relationship between 40k and 30k, Horus Heresy. So recently I started playing Horus Heresy and I've been having a lot of fun with it. It takes me right back to 7th edition if you cut out all the bad bits of 7th edition, right? And you went and you had reactions in it too. I love the reactions in the game. But one thing I have noticed compared to 40k, and I said this on stream yesterday too, and I think I say it. I think I said it yesterday in yesterday's video because I recorded the video with Maka a little while ago. Anyway, the main reason why I think 30k for such a dense game, and it is a dense game with a lot of rules, but it seems to flow quicker than 40k. It seems to flow quicker than 10th edition 40k. And that's because 80% of your rules are exactly the same. If you go with a Legion, like the World Eaters, and I'm playing Word Bearers, or I'm playing Night Lords, 80 to 85% of our rules are very similar, if not the same. It's in that 10 to 15% where you actually make up the winning power of your army, and you actually... Most of the games I've played of Horus Heresy have come down to, a player playing better in that game and winning the battle through their own generalship and poise. That's what I've come across in 30k. I think it's a much better game than Warhammer 40,000. Warhammer 40,000 tends to be what Jack's gone through here, where you get to the table and all of a sudden, oh, there's a Catan teleporting around and I can't do anything to stop it, I guess I'm losing. That kind of a feeling. That's the point of 40k that I don't like. It forgets it's a game. A lot of people go, well, that happens in war. Things happen that you can't abide by and you can't, react to it in time. Dude, it's a game. It's a game when you're meant to feel like a good general, right? And all of these gotcha tactics, and that's what it is. It's literally a gotcha. It's a, aha! Aha! Right? Now I'm going to win because I've got this thing that you can't literally counter with anything on the board. So go screw you, right? To me, that's just poor. It's a poor game design. It's not a good war game. 30k, however, shows that Games Workshop are fully capable of writing decent war games. It's a good game. I enjoy it quite a lot. And if anyone wants to play 40k with me, I generally go off and play one-page rules or something similar, because I don't think 40k is a very good game. And that story by you, Jack, has taken that out of me. I've sort of made me, reinforce that viewpoint in my mind. What do you guys think in the comment section? Am I being a bit too harsh on 40k? Or do you find it's the same as me? I don't know. Anyway, moving on. I've just noticed I've got a few more essays coming in that I need to mark, so I'm gonna leave soon. But anyway, Grim says, and it's been a while since we've seen Grim, so And by the way, these last two emails were sent in at like 6:45 and 7 in the morning. Both of you dudes, Jack, Grim, get some sleep. Jeez. Anyway, Howdy North, hope the family is doing well. Yeah, they are, man. They are. Grandpa is in a home, but he's doing very, very well in there. He's having fun. Yeah, the family's doing quite well. Touch wood. Everyone's doing well. Things are looking up. I'd like to tell a funny story around playing Poor Hammer's Horde mode. Right, I've heard of this. So the YouTube channel Poor Hammer, they have a thing called Horde mode, where it's basically Horde mode 40k, essentially, from what I've seen. Right. Recently, our club wanted to do a Horde mode game day. 8 people showed up to play Defenders, and 3 showed up to play as the Horde. Simple explanation, one or four people play as Defenders with point lists smaller than the people who are on the team. What? Oh, sorry, I've read that wrong. This is all North's fault, sorry. Simple explanation, 1 or 4 people play as Defenders with point lists smaller the more people are on the team. Fair enough. So the more people you are on your team, the smaller points you have for your army, because obviously, you know. The goal is to survive all 5 rounds without being tabled by the Horde, or complete a secret mission everybody gets at the start of the round. You get supply points every round depending on how many objectives you're on. You can spend those points on reinforcements, medical bases, artillery strikes, and more. The Horde roll dice on all 4 areas on the board to spawn units. The higher the roll, the higher and bigger the badder things the Horde can spawn. So, the game starts, and it's 2 of us against a load of Khorne demons. Each of us starts with 1,000 points. I have Dark Angels, while he, my other commander, is rolling Imperial Guard. We draw our secret missions, and I get a mission for killing a character unit with my character unit. Assassination, basically. That's cool. So, the game starts, and I put my knights and inner circle companions with Azrael up front and centre to hold the left flank. I speed run my Brutalis Dreadnought up the centre to brawl with a Demon Prince. My teammates fire down the Flesh Hounds, losing guardsmen to some of the puppies when they get into range. We wipe out the first wave, holding down our defences. Then the Horde rolls high on our left, and guess what comes for me? 2 squads of Bloodletters, 1 led by the Skulltaker, and 1 by Scarbrand. Scarbrand turns my Dreadnought into scrap, while Azrael and the companions get surrounded. I hold for another turn, throwing my Deathwing Knight at Scarbrand, bringing him to 1 wound, and then getting wiped. Azrael cleans up both squads of Bloodletters, leaving the Skulltaker in combat. The Horde rolls, and Skulltaker puts a new head on his pelt as Azrael falls. My teammate reveals his secret mission and says, "Let your teammate's warlord die. If he does, you win the game." Dude. Not for me. Not for me. Like, what? Then again, I think it kind of works for Dark Angels because, you know, the Imperial Army are probably thinking these guys aren't trustworthy, so let's just, you know, not help them out when they're getting surrounded. But it would work even better if you had that objective because, you know, maybe the other guy knows a bit too much about the Dark Angels and sort of needs to be bumped off this mortal coil. You know, you never know. But I don't really like mechanics in-game that actively mess with team cohesion, right? When you have a teammate, I don't really like mechanics when they almost force you into these methodologies of going against the other people on your team. I don't mind things like Betrayal on House and Haunted Hill, things like that. Board games, that's fine. But in war games, in these collaborative, you know, storytelling aspects, I don't really like splitting the party in D&D and other role-playing games for the same reason, right? I've only ever done it once and it worked out very well. But that was with people who knew what they were doing and were very into their characters, you know, and it made sense that the party would split. Most other things, though, no, I don't like this kind of thing. It generates a lot of frustration and tends to end friendships. Now let's move in, shall we? I'm left with my Reaper and Intercessors as the Demon Horde comes to claim my skull. I felt betrayed and ashamed. How could my angels lose to such heresy? Then we got Costco Pizza and All Was Forgiven. I highly recommend this fun game mode. It's a beer and pretzels kind of game mode, and thank you for all you do. Love, Grims. Well, okay, well, this is something that I wouldn't mind playing. I think Horde mode sounds like a pretty cool thing, especially if you take into account a lot of the bigger Horde armies. Like, this is built for Tyranids and Orcs and other things like that. Demons too, right? So, I think if you've got a player out there who controls a large Horde force and never gets to use all of their models, this might be a really good way of, you know, bringing them into a game and making sure that they're getting to use their models that they never usually get to use. It also makes sure that as a Xenos army, like a Horde Xenos army, as most Horde armies are, that they're getting to play for a good reason. Do you know what I mean? Quite a lot of the time, Xenos players have trouble finding games, you know, because there aren't very many of them, and so they tend to just stick to themselves. Horde mode is a really good way of getting those people into games with other people, and for it to make sense that they're losing a lot of models, right? It gives weaker codexes, which Xenos codexes really are for the most part, aside from when they get busted, like in, you know, Eldar and things like that, when Games Workshop want to sell really old models at really top prices. Most Xenos races can't really stand up to the sheer firepower of other factions in 40k. I say most, not all, most, right? Most. You do have your exceptions, but again, the most powerful things in 40k at the moment, I'm not even sure what they are, because I don't really keep up with the meta. But I remember for a long time Custodes were there. Mechanicus have never been there, although they're getting better now from what I've heard. But it's very rare that you see a Xenos race at the top of the power rankings at tournaments, right? Very, very rare. Well, one that isn't humanoid like Eldar anyway. You don't really see Orcs up there, you don't really see Tyranids up there, right? Sometimes you may see Tau every once in a while, but not really, you know? Demons, you know, are kind of around, but they're not always around, you know? They very rarely get a huge power up to be the big bad, as they're supposed to be in the setting. So yeah, this is a good way to get those armies on the tabletop and to make sure everybody's having fun playing them. So I agree that it's a good way of doing it. Anyway, I will speak to you guys tomorrow for another 40k rant. Should be a good one this time. And yeah, then I will speak to you on Friday for some more Hobby Nightmares and a longer episode this time, because I will have less to do in my working day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you then. Have a good one. Bye now.